Chapter 3. Sahara's mind drifted back to that night. The night that still haunted her. She cringed as the memories overtook her. Sahara peered around, a bit on edge as she waited for Calvin in the hotel lounge. He was visiting in their hometown of Atlanta, Georgia, for business. They were going to have dinner in the downstairs restaurant. She'd gotten all spruced up, wearing a trendy maroon cocktail dress, wanting to look her best for him. They had been high school sweethearts, and even now she couldn't shake her feelings for Calvin. Deep down, Sahara knew longing for him would only make things worse. Texting and talking over the phone had seemed harmless enough, but then he'd started asking to meet up in person. This would be their third time seeing each other, and she sensed continuing to do so would lead down a dangerous path. Last time they'd only hugged goodbye, but she craved more. Sahara had seen the lust in his eyes also. Her heart pounded inside her chest. She damn near jumped out of her skin when a familiar, sexy male's voice greeted her. When Sahara turned, laying eyes on Calvin, she exhaled. He still made butterflies swirl in her stomach, but that shouldn't be the case. Technically, he wasn't hers anymore. "How are you?" Calvin asked. "I'm good." "You look amazing, as always." Sahara took in his tall, muscular frame. He'd always had the smoothest, toffee-colored skin, with very handsome facial features, a great smile, and dreamy brown eyes. "You look great as well." "I hope you haven't been waiting for too long." "Nah, I haven't been here long." "Shall we?" He extended his arm. Sahara took it, and they strolled over to the restaurant in the hotel. They ordered, and it didn't take long for the waiter to bring their drinks and appetizers. They made idle chit-chat while they dug in. Calvin reached for her hand across the table. "I'm happy you agreed to meet me for dinner. You've been a little distant lately, so I wasn't sure you would." Sahara sighed. "It's just hard for me, Calvin. I can never truly be with you, and only having a piece of you is torture." "Sahara, You know I want to be with you too. This isn't my choice, it's the law." "The bottom line is that you're married now. If someone finds out and reports us, we'll be penalized." Calvin was a lot of Sahara's firsts. Her first love, the first and only man she'd ever been intimate with. He was almost a year older than her. He'd been married off recently. Since then, it had been grueling. At first, Sahara wasn't sure how she'd survive. They'd been in a relationship up until Calvin had gotten details about his future wife from the courthouse, the woman he was married to now. Time was a ticking bomb for Sahara. She would be turning 21 soon, and then the government would choose her husband. This was a no-win situation that was bound to explode in their faces. Why does the regime have to enforce this ridiculous law? I guess the government wants to show they have absolute power. They're doing a fine job to be able to control who you loved, Sahara thought, sighing. The waiter chose that moment to interrupt. They both jumped. The server placed their food down. Sensing the tension in the air, he asked them if they needed anything, and then left quickly. Having lost her appetite, Sahara picked at her food. Calvin blew out his breath. "It's always been you, Sahara. If I wasn't forced into marriage, then I would have married you." Her breath caught. She wanted that more than anything. The reality was that it would never happen. Divorce was not allowed. Calvin continued. "I know this isn't how you pictured our life, but if this is the only way that I can see you, spend time with you, then I'll take it. I don't want to lose you, Sahara." "I want to be able to see you also. This just seems impossible." "Life is what you make of it. We may have to follow the rules, but the government can't truly control our hearts." "True, but they sure can make a mess of them." They finished their meal, neither one saying much. "Come with me to the hotel's courtyard. It has a garden and waterfall. I think you'll like it." Sahara followed him to the atrium. There were a few guards roaming about. Sahara whipped her head from side to side, paranoid someone would notice them, report them. Once they arrived, her shoulders relaxed. The area was full of wonderful-smelling flowers. A huge water fountain stood out as a beautiful work of art. It was funny that the statue they'd chosen was Cupid, shooting water from his arrow. The glass ceiling was vaulted, and tonight you could see the stars. They were the only two here, making the moment more intimate. Calvin turned toward her. "Sahara, I still love you." "I love you too, Calvin, but it doesn't change our circumstances." "Let me show you how much you mean to me, sweetheart. Spend the night with me." Seeing each other was dangerous enough. The fact remained that he was married, and soon she would be too. Being sexually intimate was a line she knew that once crossed, that was it. Staring into Calvin's eyes caused her to waver, seriously considering spending the night with him. Leaning down, he kissed her forehead. He continued lower, aiming for her lips. Caught up in his love spell, Sahara was seconds from giving in and saying, "Fuck it." She wanted to live in the moment, consequences be damned. But the thought of who else Calvin had been kissing crossed her mind. Right before his lips made contact, Sahara pulled back. "Do you love your wife?" She needed to know the truth. Somehow it mattered. Maybe because that was what the reality was. "I do care about her. I won't lie and say that I don't, but I'm not in love with her. I haven't known her long enough, and how can I truly be in love with her when I still feel this way about you?" There was one more question that Sahara had to know, something that she never dared ask before. "You've had sex with her, though, I'm sure." Calvin looked away, and that was all the confirmation she needed. She couldn't go through with this knowing that as soon as he returned home, his lips would be on her. He'd be inside her, too. Sahara wasn't about to be his mistress, especially when her heart was on the line. She stepped back. "I'm sorry, but I can't do this." Calvin's face crumpled. "I want you so badly, but it doesn't have to be tonight." Sahara shook her head. "No, I can't do this, period." His brow furrowed. "What do you mean?" "I don't think we should see each other anymore, or talk over the phone." He lifted her chin, forcing her to look at him. "Please don't do this. Just because I care about her doesn't mean I love you any less." His brown eyes seared her to the point that her heart really felt in pain. This was why she couldn't go through with this. "But you'd be okay with sleeping with us both?" Calvin flinched. "It's not like that. You're the person that I would choose if I had a choice in the matter." Though that might be true, it still didn't change a damn thing. No matter how he tried to spin it, if she slept with him, it would be an affair. Sahara would be the other woman. Her heart couldn't take it. She had to end it now before it was too late. She backed further away. "I will always care about you, Calvin. I just can't do this. I'm sorry. Please don't call me anymore." Turning on her heels, she almost ran from the hotel. She heard him calling her, begging her not to leave, but she didn't turn back. Sahara shook her head, attempting to rid herself of the dreadful memory. Involving herself with Calvin had been a mistake that had cost her a lot, leading up to the situation she was in now, being a temptress for Season 6 of the Temptation Trials. This was a step she needed to take in order to have a clean slate. This was her one chance to make things right in her life again, even though she wasn't thrilled about being a contestant on the show. The world was still recuperating from war. Different news stations and government-sponsored reality shows were the only things aired on television. That was it, besides the minimal sports channels, which only the upper class had privileges to. That was the reason Temptation Trials was a hit show. The entire nation watched it. All of Sahara's dirty laundry would be aired. She hadn't applied for the show to cause havoc in the chosen couple's lives, but she figured she might be chosen to go on a date. Sahara could go with the flow of harmless dating, and when it was over, her record would be clean. Mingle with a few men, then she could return to her life in Atlanta and start over. No harm, no foul. With her head set straight on her shoulders, she took a deep breath and entered the Temptation intro party, where she would meet the 6 chosen candidates of Season 6.